welcome to this very important session in our virtual event. Yes, I call it a virtual event because the times have changed, and at the moment, virtual is trying to become our friend, not our foe. Well, friends, our industry is in a turmoil. Our industry has been in a turmoil since last 6 months. It's been in a crisis, in fact, and exhibitions, conferences, events have all come to a standstill. With travel restrictions, international events for some time will be a problem. With us today, we have the most enlightened, most distinguished leaders of the industry. I'd like to welcome Mr. RAKESH Kumar, DG EPCH and Chairman India Expo Mart. He is also the Chairman of Restarting Exhibitions Advisory Committee IEIA. Mr. V. ANBU, Director General and CEO of IMTMA and BIEC. He is also the incoming President of UFI. We are very delighted to have Mr. Kai Hattendorf, who is the MD and CEO of UFI, the Global Association of Exhibition Industry. I'm thankful to Mr. Walter Ye, he's the President of AFECA and TECA. I'm thankful to Mr. Stuart Bailey, he's the President of Hong Kong Exhibition and Convention Industry Association. Last but not the least, Mr. Ravinder SETHI, who's the CMD of RE Rogers India, and more importantly, the International Ambassador of IEIA. With this, friends, I'd like to start up the session. And I'd like to invite Mr. RAKESH Kumar to please open up the discussion. Please tell us what have been the various measures, because our industry is going through a lot. We are in turmoil. People are confused when our industry will get reopening status, because everything is opening up. Sir, you have been advocating very, very aggressively. Please tell us what's going on and what picture of hope can you give to our attendees?
Thank you very much, Mr. Raghav KHOSLA, for inviting me on this platform. And also, I welcome my colleagues who are from the international fraternity on this subject, particularly Mr. Ambu, Mr. Ravinder SETHI, Mr. Kai, Mr. Stuart Bailey, Mr. Walter. Thanks for organizing this event at a very, very right time. COVID-19 has brought in unprecedented adverse impact on the overall economy, and the business exhibition sector are no exception to this. Everybody is fully aware of this. And in this particular time, when there's a total uncertainty prevailing over here, India is not exception to this. We are also having the same issue as the rest of the world. In particularly in India, the complete industry, that is particularly the exhibition sector, all the 5 verticals of the sector are at a complete standstill, a total halt. There are no congregation taking place. The government first announced the lockdown, and then unlock procedure started. Unfortunately, by now, unlock 4 has also been announced by the government, and there is no sight of relief yet received by the Indian people over here, and particularly the exhibition industry fraternity. But at this time, Indian Exhibition Industry Association, along with all players of the exhibition industry, they are together, and they all have taken up this task at the highest level. The IIA, the President IIA, Mr. Bala, Mr. Bhupender Singh, General Secretary, and the entire team of IIA along with Mr. Ravinder SETHI and others have taken up this issue individually through their venue, through their bodies, and also collectively through the IIA. We had a series of meeting with Mr. Nitin Gadkari, the Cabinet Minister of the Government of India, MSME and other departments, and the Tourism Minister, Mr. Prahlad Singh Patel. And both of them have already assured that industry is going to get this relief very soon. We are quite hopeful. Particularly, we have given the example of the malls that have now been opened in India, because the B2B exhibitions are almost similar to the congregation what we have in mall. Rather, in the mall, we meet the people who are not known to us. In the exhibition segment, SOPs are ready. IIA has already prepared the SOPs, and we are following all the SOPs on state and the district level both. I hope that very soon government in Unlock 5 is going to give some relief, and our industry is going to restart, particularly the entire sector related to the exhibition, convention, conference, and events.
Thank you for those insights, Mr. Rakesh Kumar. And I'd like to invite Mr. V. Anbu. Mr. Anbu, you are the incoming president of UFI, and UFI being such a major force in the industry. I'd like to take some insights from you. Where do you see the current state of our industry? A lot of people are skeptical whether we will survive.
Thanks, Raghav. First of all, I'm very happy to be here as part of this virtual summit, International M.I.C.E Showcase 2.0, along with my other colleagues. You're very correct. I think the entire global economy is impacted. I think there is no country, no market is outside this. And the entire global trade is impacted, almost to the tune of, 35%. The global trade can be impacted by end of this financial year. And in India too, you all would have seen just yesterday, I've seen in the news papers, the first quarter GDP impact has been almost 24%. These are all big impacts. And exhibition industry very much part of it. But then there are few sectors which are very severely impacted. Okay, so travel, hospitality, and of course, events industry and exhibition in particular, okay? So as I was mentioning in other forums earlier, this year is a year of survival, to put it very mildly and very shortly, okay? So it's important for all of us to take whatever is possible as measures to really, conserve the cost, and the cash flow is very important, and keep the expenses to the minimum, and then survive this year, okay? And then you will see some opportunity by end of the financial year, okay? In India, it could be November, December onwards, perhaps December onwards, we don't know yet. And certainly the last quarter, which is January to March, may throw some opportunities. It depends on, again, variety of factors, okay? Vaccine and vaccine availability, throughout the country. If you look at global market, in respective market should be available in full measure. And of course, the travel and hospitality restrictions. And the most important thing, economy to be on the, the forward movement. They need to come to a position where you see at least 60 to 70% of the capacity is being utilized. Then you are in the right position to come back to the show. So there are various aspects which are playing a role. I don't see that, you will have many companies just going out of business. That danger is there. But then those companies who take the smart, moves, who really, I think, take extreme precaution, and then try and manage their own workforce and their own cost and everything, the resources in good measure, they will have the opportunity to survive and come back. But when you come back, I'm sure that you'll have more than what you are losing as an opportunity, because you talk to every one of the exhibition organizers, they're very, very keen to come back, and economy has to come back. Exhibition industry, the main role is to be an enabler. You'll have more opportunities coming. But then this year and the beginning of next year is really going to test all of us.
Those are words of real positivity, Mr. Anbu. And with this, I'd like to move to the global man, Mr. Kai Hattendorf. What are the latest updates from the world of exhibitions and conferences? Because UFI has been very strongly not just advocating, but also informing about reopening of various regions. And this has been sending a lot of positive waves all across. So I would request you to please share some insights about the global scenario.
Thank you, Raghav, and good morning, good day, good evening to everyone watching this event in India and all around the world. It's a pleasure and a privilege be part of this group. Well, you mentioned the travel, and travel is a necessity if shows are to take place again. So as we've all been in Europe lucky enough to see the borders reopening, many of us took the opportunity to escape for 1 or 2 weeks to a beach or a mountain. So I come to the session with a fresh teint from the Danish Baltic Sea shore. As you asked for some data, you need to allow me to share my screen, then I can share some data. We are tracking that on the UFI side, and the message is not so negative. I know the sentiment is dire, and I know things feel bad, and I know things look bad, with venues being converted into hospital, with COVID cases on the rise in many parts around the world, with these hammer and dance, even where this wave of infections has been brought under control, this careful monitoring of the public authorities to make sure we prevent this second wave or these constant waves wherever we are able to. So as you know, twice a year, we are polling the industry in our global barometer. And I just want to point out that the perspective the industry shares on when our businesses will reopen is not that negative. This is the global view on the reopening perspective. And you see that in the beginning this month, September, and going into December, 40% around the world are expecting reduced activity, and 19 to 29% of companies around the world are actually expecting a return to some level of normality. Now, obviously, as you see on the right of the slide, this will be driven by local events and national events before we see the return of the international events. But if you look at these dozens of shows with hundreds of thousands of attendees in China, if you look at the track record of successful shows that took place in Korea, if you look at the reopening of shows in Japan, you see that business is coming back into Asia. Now in September, we see the reopening of the trade show industry in Germany taking place with shows in Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, wherever you have it. So the industry is coming back. Now, obviously, this is, as ANBU said, a year of survival. So if you look at the revenues we will bring in this year, it is a very difficult situation for the whole industry. You see that in the first half of the year, we were expecting as an industry to make 1/3 of the revenues we would normally make around the world. And for the full year globally, we are forecasting, or we are seeing, around 40% of revenues coming together compared to last year. Now, if you want to dig deeper into your own respective markets, it's all in the UFI data there, and I encourage you to look at that. Just to underline that the markets are reopening. I hope you see this on screen now. This is the status in Asia, and as I said, you see China is green, Malaysia is green, New Zealand is green for national shows, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand. Shows are taking place across Asia, and also in Europe. You see it's getting greener, and green is the color not just of hope, but also of good business taking place. And we are seeing our industry returning, show for show, event for event. We will rebuild this confidence in our platform. At the same time, we need the support from the public authorities. We need the support, and we need to work together with the public authorities. And this is why the advocacy work is so important. The advocacy work helped us to convince the German government that trade shows shall not be considered in the same type of events as beer festivals or Christmas markets. So trade shows are running in Germany, concerts are not running, for instance, or beer festivals have been canceled. And you know what a cancellation of a beer festival means for Germans. So on the advocacy side, for the wider M.I.C.E industry, we need to speak with one voice, and we need to make our argument clear and concise. So on the in a huge collaboration of industry professionals from all sides of the M.I.C.E industry under the platform of JMIC, the Joint Meetings Industry Council, we've worked on this joint narrative, and we've published this JMIC Global Manifesto in July. And you see these kind of 15 core elements of the narrative. that we take to governments around the world to say, here is why business events create the strategic advantage as we recover as economies, as societies, and as we renew our industries on the other side of COVID. As we say in our sector, we are the fastest of all fast tracks to economic recovery because we build the meeting places and the marketplaces of the world. And this is a message that resonates well with the authorities because we also tell them that we are the professionals. It is our business to bring people together. And as such, it's our obligation to do our best to keep people safe when they come to trade shows.
Absolutely, and thank you so much. Those were really, really enlightening slides which you shared and some updates coming from you. And I'd like to move to Mr. Walter Ye. And Mr. Ye, since Kai has already given us good updates from various regions across the globe, my question too would be a little different. I would like to ask you as a president of AFECA, what do you see the current trends of digitalization? Because a lot of disruption is happening in the industry. What are your comments on this? How good a friend the technology is, or whether it is a threat to us?
Yes, the reopening of trade shows in Asia, Africa talking about that just a few weeks ago. Since many countries in Asia reopened their trade shows, most of them, the local trade shows. Some international show still very difficult because of international travel still restricted. So most international show, they will use the online, offline, or online merge offline. So that is, we need digitalization to do that. So most companies in Asia, I say now, try to have a good solution for trade shows. Since in the foreseeable future, trade shows only can be possible in use a digital way to assist. Otherwise, the visitors will not enough for the trade shows. So we have to work hard for that. So the digitalization is very important. How to make the visitors happy when they visit the trade shows. And the exhibitors, they can showcase their products, their new products online. So online for the international visitors, that is the solution is important. We tried that just in July, the Asian Biotech exhibition. During that show, we have some organizer flying to Taiwan, but most of the visitors from United States and other countries, they are online, and also the webinar also online. So the technology for this digitalization, for this online exhibition or online conference is very important. And we are also going to have EKHA conference this year in Kaohsiung. And EKHA president already promised that he will fly to Taiwan. And we apply special visa for him to come here to chair this meeting in Taiwan. And he mentioned this will be the first first hybrid international conference in the world. So he will be here, and the team and also some participants in the region in Asia, which is possible in November, will be here. But the most, I think, will be local participants. So online trade shows or the online conference need technology to support and to make it possible and also to make it profitable. How to make profit is still a headache problem for us. We talked about this during our Africa meeting just 2 months ago. we're talking about technology for the online trade shows. Online trade show is easy, not too difficult, but how to make it profitable? We can collect money from the exhibitors. That is another question. So we still have a long way to go. And it is good to have this good opportunity to share, to work together. Thank you.
With this, I'd like to go to Stuart. You were one of the first markets to get affected by this pandemic, and you were also the first ones to recover and restart the industry. I'd like to ask you what the current trends are about opening up, what kind of safety protocols are taking shape at events and exhibitions.
Sure, yeah, no, thank you for the introduction. Look, I'm delighted that the fellow panelists here have got such a rosy view of what the future for our industry is going to be. I think we're in a global recession, and there is positive signs that things will get started, but I think the length of time that it's going to get us to get back to anything like normal is a long way away. I mean, the sort of the UFI survey for China and Hong Kong suggested that Hong Kong's net space will drop by 90% this year over last year, and China, yes, it's doing well, but that's going to drop by 65%. So these are pretty big numbers, and it is going to take, from surveying some of our members, up to 2 years before we get back to the level that we saw in 2019. But look, as you say, I mean, China was the first. I mean, obviously the outbreak began in Wuhan, and we saw the city go into lockdown on the 23rd of January of this year, which incidentally was the same day that I was in London. I was at Excel with a friend of ours, Nick Dugdale-Moore, having a coffee, talking about, you know, sort of what's the future of the industry, and neither of us really talked about COVID-19. It wasn't a thing. So it's interesting kind of how much things change. And that was the last trade exhibition that I've been to, because in Hong Kong, there has been nothing since. Now, in China, because of the way that society works there, they're able to take much more draconian measures, like locking down whole cities, which they did in Wuhan, they did in most of the major cities, in order to kind of stem the transmission of the virus. And that proved really quite successful, so successful that, you know, in sort of early mid-May, they were able to begin exhibitions, and they were able to begin holding things with some of the SOPs that were talked about earlier, you know, sort of health declaration forms, temperature checking, mandatory mask wearing, etc. And most people do as they're told in this part of the world. So if we're told to wear masks, we put masks on. There's nobody complaining about infringement of their human rights. We just get on with it and we do what we're told. So, you know, look, we're seeing some of the big exhibitions come back in China. We haven't had quite so much luck in Hong Kong, because we had what's called a third wave here, but we're beginning to get past that, and there is hope that we're going to see some events happening in late October, November, and hopefully December if there's no more spike. China obviously is a big market, so therefore they can have national trade shows and get lots of buyers and sellers coming, and they've been doing that. There's a big furniture show coming up in Shanghai next week. And I'm sure that will go very, very well and be well attended. But they're lacking international buyers. Hong Kong is obviously a different market. It's an international city. And without international buyers, there is really no domestic market. It's 7.5 million people, and its GDP is $230 billion US. So small in comparison with some of those big countries. So there's not much hope for Hong Kong until we can get at least the China border open and hopefully start bringing in people from other places as well. But I guess for China and for other, you know, bigger economy countries, they can run those national shows and start to kind of build up those things and get back into full swing. So look, I mean, we're hopeful, but I'm equally, we kind of recognize the damage that has already been done to the trade show business. And, you know, if God forbid there was to be sort of a fourth wave or even more, then I think, you know, there'd be some serious concerns.
Thank you, Stuart, for those insights. And Now I'd like to go to Mr. Ravinder Sethi. Mr. Sethi, we've talked a lot offline about this. People in India, when we share some of these snaps about restarting exhibitions, about events happening in some parts of the world, people here say that, oh, our industry is dead and buried. We are not going to pass through this phase. And these pictures are just for positivity. But you are a well-connected man. You know the situation, what's happening on the ground, on the international front also. I'd like to request you to please comment on your take on this situation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Raghav. First of all, congratulations to you for doing this. In fact, if you see the subject, the global industry response to COVID, right? A collective analysis and assessment. I give you a lot of credit, and I'm sure all of us are in agreement with me, that one of the things which is coming out of this whole global pandemic is that this industry is together. Kai said, we are one voice. Rakesh ji said, we are all together. ANBU spoke about all the economies being affected. Stuart, on your local fronts also, it all started over there, it went back and forth, and now it's coming back again. And the West is looking at what's happening over there. So there is a connectivity. Walter, of course, has views which are correct in terms of how digitalization should be seen as a friend rather than a foe. We should not hide away from it. Now, my take on your specific question about India. It's not just India. I think it is global. When we got into this pandemic 5-6 months ago, there was a fear. See, now at least in most parts of the world, the fear is gone. Right? And in India, as with other parts of the world, we are looking at what is happening in the trend. What started in Asia went across into Europe and then came into South Asia and then came back again into the Far East. So I go to Kai's statistics. If you see in today's date where we can really now start looking at statistics and how we are going to be, we're looking at the future. If you see, the return time now, what we're looking at as of the third and fourth quarter, European third and fourth quarter, India's second and third, 40% of the reduced activity in second half of the year, sorry, not quarter. 40% in the last year, 19 to 20% returning to normalcy as of now. The reopening, what we saw on the chart, the UFI chart, Asia and Europe are more and more in the green. True, everyone is affected. There are other industries affected also, like ANBU had brought about, but we have to take, rephrase. We are already now taking the measures which were prophesied by my friend ANBU 3 months ago. We are seeing more and more industries now, especially our exhibition industry, which are suddenly realizing, hey, hang on a minute, cash flow, I've got to look at that. Cost cuts, I have to look at that. And yeah, I know now, even if, interestingly, we were all eagerly waiting, and Rakesh ji was our leader in this, that, 1st September we would open. But surprisingly, it didn't come. But the level of disappointment was minimal, because we know we're on the right track. So we're accepted, this is the time frame, our lives are coming to normalcy, the metros are about to open, school exams are happening, everything around us is treading normalcy. So I disagree with you that people are now looking at doom and gloom, even in our industry. Yeah, we have to be smart in our economics. More and more people today in our industry, and I'll be specific, in India, are realizing that it's going to come. Now it's a question of time. It will open in October, November. I just saw, by the way, while we were talking, I saw a news item, maybe September 21st will be an official opening. I hope to God it's true. So no, there's no doom and gloom. Absolutely not. We're all going through a very rough time, but one voice for advocacy, Kai, togetherness, everyone there, and we will overcome this. These are temporary days. Yeah, they've stretched a bit. Life is not easy. We've got used to it now. We have to live with COVID. the vaccine will come. We are now talking in the next few months. Yeah, it's not going to go around to 7 billion people, overnight, but it's there, it will come. And at the time when it will come, our industry would have already started. So the vaccine will not be our solution. The vaccine will be the icing on the cake. And I tell you what, I repeat again, one last sentence, this platform which you have created, sharing of information, sharing of technology, sharing of know-how in one forum, it's never really happened before at such a constant level, a repetitive level. And this is helping us to recover faster.
Well said, Mr. Sethi, and putting this to clarity that exhibitions and conferences are here to stay. We do have some good news that the gatherings and events up to a scale of 100 people have at least got some kind of a nod, a consensus from the government. Mr. Kumar, I'd like to understand from you now what should be our target for reopening.
Today, when we are talking to the government on one-to-one basis and also collectively, we are giving emphasis on some of the facts over there. And right now we are working totally based on the facts. Our facts are, first of all, we have emphasized to the government these years, which in the past we have not been able to advocate on those points, is that we are the multiplier of the economic growth. We also emphasize that our multiplier ratio goes as high as 1:12. That if somebody comes and he spends 1 rupee in the exhibition, that means he spent 12 rupee for the rest of the services. Maybe the hotel, maybe the paying guest accommodation, the taxi, or blah, blah. So altogether, its effect is 12 times. By that way, the total effect is not limited to just the 27 or 28,000 of crore, which goes directly to the exhibition industry, but now it is now multiplying and has been worked out as a 3 lakh crore, around 40 billion US dollar. So that is the total amount that is now going to be impacted in the Indian economy. Right now, by the time we have already impacted more than 15 billion US dollar in the economy. And when we say how it has impacted the economy, and we have emphasized particularly to the MSME ministry, which is a micro, small, medium entrepreneur ministry here, that the business that is transacted at the fairground by the exhibitor, that is the most important consideration. That should be the most important consideration, because our exhibitor, they always have the new developments and they show the new developments to their supplier at the exhibition ground, and they conduct the business. So that way that they, whatever the business they transact at the exhibition ground, that is the main scope for the development of the economy in the country. The government, particularly Honorable Prime Minister in India, has specifically mentioned about Atmanirbhar Bharat. That means the self-reliant India. And when he's talking about the self-reliant India, it's very important that the MSME has to be open. The development done by the MSME, particularly the new R&D that has been done, that is to be floated in the sector amongst the people, and that can basically fetch the business over there. With this, whatever we have now brought before the government, we discussed over there, and we found there is a lot of positiveness in the government, and the government is very, very sensitive. The only issue was that this was to be opened on phase-wise. By now, as my friend Mr. Sethi mentioned, metro are likely to be open in next few days. The buses are already plying over here. The business is coming to quite normal. People are very cautious about the SOPs and all that. And I'm quite hopeful that by the October and November, the congregation assemblies will also be allowed, and the exhibition sector, the event and the MICE sector will also be allowed over there. Maybe by the end of December, the full scale will be allowed, because right now the indication is that have been given by the tourism minister in one of our meeting, that 50% of the occupancy will be allowed in the total exhibition venue. That means any exhibition organizer who used to take one exhibition hall, if he has to bring the same scale of exhibition, he has to use the 2 halls. And there are all venue providers have also agreed to this formula, and they are ready to give the venue accordingly, not giving that impact over there to the exhibitor, so that the exhibition organizer can also have that kind of a relaxation from the venue provider. So this way, we are quite hopeful that things will definitely come to the normal by the month of November and December in India, and the first quarter is going to be the business as usual. Rather, I foresee the better business than before, because now the people are going to come with a bigger zeal and a lot of enthusiasm, because now they have realized the real requisition, real requirement of the trade fair sector and the requirement of these platform. I would like to just add on about the Walter, what he said, that definitely the virtual show are going to play some important role. In India, we had taken the first mover approach in the India Expo Center in March. I think the hybrid will also be required initially. As Mr. Stuart mentioned, that a lot of traveling may not take place. So that's the reason I think over the overseas traveling, if it's not taking place, then the hybrid model should be taken by the countries for the B2B show, where the physical exhibition will take place, but the virtual has to simultaneously be there. So this is the thought process of mine and even some of the stakeholders who are working along with us.
Thank you, and very well put, Rakesh ji. And under your leadership, we are very, very hopeful that India will get a positive news very soon in terms of reopening. With this, I'd like to go back to Mr. V. Anbu. And Mr. Anbu, I'll put a different question now in this round. My question to you is, what do you see the new normal for our industry?
Well, that's a very interesting and important aspect, Raghav. We all want to get back to normalcy. I agree with Stuart that it might take, depending on which market you are, perhaps up to 2 years. So now, but then we will have restart happening very soon. So there will be a slow process of progress, and then by the time we go to absolute normalcy, is going to be taking a while. But then when we are in the process of normalcy, or when we get back to normalcy, it's not going to be the same. There will be a lot of new aspects as part of that new normal position. Okay. In general, all the organizers, along with the venues, will absorb more and more technology, content technology aspect as part of organizing the show itself. Okay, you will have digital tech playing an important role. Rakesh talked about, and each one of us touched this aspect. You take any aspect of a show, you will have technology playing a much more important role. You will have a bigger traction. Okay, take for example even pre-event registration itself. You will have newer and more efficient technology platform, making it easier and simpler for people to register and then just walk into the show. And this is not just for avoiding the time of registration at the event, or to avoid queues, etc. It should bring in a lot of efficiency as well. You will see overall improvement using technology playing a major role in aspects like this. You take, for example, health screening. You'll have, technology again playing a role along with IT and artificial intelligence in a non-invasive manner. Okay, you take even regular areas like food and beverage. Okay, social distancing, and then I think safety measures with the help of technology would bring a lot of efficiency. Okay. And also you take the B2B aspect, which is core of any business show. You will find the visitors spending lesser time in a very, very focused manner. So the discussions are going to be rather more focused, and it's going to be rather short duration. That means that a lot of activity which is happening at the show can also be designed to happen even before the show. So you will have variety of areas where the technology is going to be leveraged to add value. That doesn't mean that the content of exhibition will come down. The content of exhibition on the whole will go up, in fact. So touching on some of the other points, virtual shows will play a role, definitely. And hybrid shows will certainly, continue to, play a role. But then this is, again, it has to undergo its own learning curve. It's not going to be a conflict. It is going to be playing more of a supplementing, complementing role. Virtual shows cannot replace face-to-face, aspects of the exhibition, especially when it comes to B2B show. But then technology can really add a lot of aspects to the existing formats of the show itself. Let me spend a minute or so on the stakeholder engagement, particularly exhibitors and visitors. I mentioned about visitors coming in a more focused manner. Okay, if a show is happening, let's say over a period of 5 days or even 4 days, okay, and the visitor is spending, X amount of time, and in my view, almost 50% of that can be planned in a careful manner to take place even before the show time. That means, let's say, a few weeks before the show. So the exhibitors can be encouraged or enabled using several IT platforms to share the information, put the content, okay, well before. And the visitors can be encouraged, to go through and then do their own homework and exercise even before they come to the show. Okay, so the value addition at the show in terms of decision making can actually go up. That doesn't mean the pie size is decreasing. The pie size will actually increase. We are talking about newer services getting added along with the existing, the business model. Along with that, you will also see if a show is generating, let's say, $100 million worth of business, perhaps it can even become 150 or 200. So you will have all around more and more value, coming, leveraged by technology, and you can't stop technology. But at the same time, human beings are not built for just virtual world alone. So B2B shows and face-to-face will become stronger and stronger with value addition coming from technology. These are some of the perhaps what we may call in future as new normal.
Those were really, really insightful points, Mr. ANBU, and you gave us a new dimension. Probably we can have someone like Stuart Bailey to comment and build up on your comments.
Thanks, Raghav. Yeah, look, I thought it was interesting. There was a lot of what ANBU was saying, which resonated, and I think that actually there is some positive effects that are coming out of this awful pandemic. In that, what's happened is really forced exhibition organizers to embrace digital in a way that, over the past 5 years, they've perhaps paid lip service to, but not really tried to understand how it can work and how it can benefit. Look, one area which, and again, we've been doing these, for more than 20 years. We always survey our stakeholders, so our exhibitors and our visitors coming into the show, about why are they coming, what are they looking for, but then we also ask them about what are the other medias that they are using. So, going back to 20 years ago when I started, we sort of saw our competitor as trade magazines. We were, the kind of the next big thing was trade magazines. We're competing with them. Then sort of TV and radio, and a lot of those things are kind of dead now. But increasingly, obviously, it's been, for a while it was email marketing, and then that dropped down a bit. But then it was the internet. We were competing with internet advertising. We're competing with social media. We're competing with a lot of these things. And I think for a lot of organizers, we really saw that as the competition. And what's happened over 2020 and COVID-19 is that actually, I think organizers are starting to see that they don't need to compete with digital, but actually, if they harness the power of digital and understand how they can use it for their purposes, it's their biggest asset. They can enhance, going to some of the things that ANBU was saying, they can enhance registration, they can enhance the on the trade show floor experience, they can justify, much more specifically, the return on investment of somebody spending their time at an exhibition or their money in exhibiting at one. Equally, I think it's the same thing has been true of people that normally go as buyers. They've really seen that actually online events do have limitations. You know, there are certain things that you can do online, and certainly in terms of building your knowledge and learning and all of those things. But in terms of building your community or building trust, I mean, last year's UFI Global Congress was the big thing. And you know, it's absolutely true that, you know, business is conducted through trust. Once trust has been established, then you can do business. Most of the other people on this call, you know, I've met many times, you know, over the years at conferences and at various things. And if we were doing business together, I'd have no problem doing it. But if somebody else was here, somebody who I hadn't met face to face, I'd feel a lot less comfortable making a business commitment to them. And so that's where, you know, I think people really understand, well, you know, look, I could have 1,000 connections on LinkedIn, but actually, if I've got one friend that's influential in the industry, that's worth more. And that's why I need to get back to a trade show or a conference and meet people.
Thank you, Stuart. Probably Kai would have some data, some more insights on this important aspect, because a lot of people think that maybe digitalization or technology is a threat. But as you and Mr. ANBU rightly said, no, it is a friend, and we can use it to grow our businesses in future. So Kai, if you have anything on this, probably I can take this question to you.
Sure, thank you. And I'm very happy that ANBU is my next president, because a lot of the conversation will be around this hybrid model, and to have a mind like his running UFI from November for a year will be the perfect timing. Again, to briefly reflect on what you just said, Stuart, the importance of the face-to-face relationship. I usually compare it with my phone that I need to recharge or it stops running. Business relationships are based on trust. Trust needs to be recharged when we meet. We can maintain a business relationship. We can continue to do business through the screen, screen to screen, not face to face. But eventually these connections are getting weaker. They literally run out of power unless we recharge that when we meet again. And that's the power of the meeting, and that's the power of the face-to-face. At the same time, and I fully agree, and I just wanted to add the industry's global view on that. We know that the future is not back to where we come from. Again, this is a slide from the Global Barometer, and you see that around 50% say the sector will bounce back quickly. Within 2 years, 3 years, it depends on when the vaccination comes. But the vast majority, and nobody really believes that virtual or digital will replace the physical event because of this power of the recharging of the connection and the face-to-face and the human aspect of it. But everybody seems to agree that the future is more hybrid. Is this blend, is digital as your friend, digital as an element, with all the options of turning a business that is now focused on a few days a year into a business that is focused on serving a community, connecting a community all year long. And it's not just we who think this as the people who build the marketplaces and the meeting places, it is also what our customers think. These are first results from a global study where we are talking to 9,000 exhibitors and visitors all around the world. As you see, 1/2 of them have now experienced an online event in one way or another. 1/6 have even paid for it. And so only 87% did it for free. So this is where some revenue is coming in now, but it's new for everyone. But you see below the handshake, and that's the key. The vast majority of people who normally attend shows say that the face-to-face, the real event is better for networking than a digital event. The one element where digital is matching physical in the quality is when it comes to content, and this session is an example. You can bring together bright minds to talk for a while about something, and this will be available for everyone to watch at their own discretion whenever they want it on demand. So content is more available through digital. But what is lacking is the power of the chat, is the power of the conversation afterwards over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So that's what we are missing when we just reduce ourselves to digital. So how is the industry reacting? Last data point on that. The barometer shows that while generally our industry obviously is not investing that much right now, the one area where every second company all around the world is growing their investments is digital. So the industry has understood the potential of digital. Stuart said we've been paying too much lip service in recent years. Now the money is being put to where the mouth is. And the customers are encouraging us to use the power and the options of hybrid around the physical space that they can't wait to return to.
Thank you for those valuable insights, Kai. And with this, I'd like to go to Mr. Walter Ye. And Walter, being the president of AFECA, we would like you to share some of the measures which have been taken by AFECA to fight this pandemic and to support the fraternity at this time.
Yes, AFECA is the most important and representative M.I.C.E organization in Asia. The values of AFECA asks to its members are to share, to learn, to support, and to collaborate. So during this pandemic, we organize webinars to share information, share how to organize an online trade shows, how to mention, and how to make our events better. So AFECA work together. But I fully agree with all our panelists that trust is important. How to build the trust is very difficult. So we need some more stakeholders like Chamber of Commerce. So we need the Chamber of Commerce or the association to work together. So we can get the data, the correct data from this kind of Chamber of Commerce or association. So we can have the guarantee that this company is correct. So how to establish, introduce a good one for mention, that is important for this hybrid meeting or the online merge offline trade shows. That is the right, how to get the right companies to talk with our exhibitors. That is very important. So we need more stakeholders, like the business association, like the Chamber of Commerce, or like data companies. Let's work together. Then we can give solution. I think O2O will be a new normal for some time, 2 or 3 years maybe, and back to the formal normal is far to see. So we have to get used to the new normal at the moment, and we are just start to do that. So I think we will have more technology and solution to handle the current difficult situation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ye. And with this, I'd like to go to our final round. This is a quick fire round, and we'll have quick fire answers from our esteemed speakers. My question to Mr. Rakesh Kumar to start with. So what do you feel 2 most important messages that you'd like to give to our fraternity to stay alive at this point in time?
Keep patience and get ready. And the second is, technology is the tool of future businesses.
Very well said, sir. I'd like to go to Mr. ANBU. Mr. ANBU, you have to tell me 2 things that the venue should be doing for the industry at this time and going further.
One, to quickly respond to that, I think most of the venues are working on having the right protocol in place. The right protocol which will ensure that all the health screening and social distancing and then cleanliness, everything is ensured, in line with the government norms and regulations to make sure all the stakeholders, exhibitors, visitors, whoever is involved in the supply chain, they're all safe and secure. That's the most important thing. The second thing is at the overall level, they need to give confidence along with exhibition organizers to not only all stakeholders, but also to authorities, and to give confidence to people generally who are involved in our industry. Okay, so in my view, these are two most important things. This may also, when you go to the micro level, involve training, enablement, giving orientation, lots of things to be done. Okay, to be an enabler of this process is very, very important.
Absolutely. And with this, I go to Mr. Stuart Bailey. And Stuart, you have to tell me two things that we need to do to make sure our future manforce, in terms of skill development, two aspects we need to focus on right now.
These are not new. I mean, it's really, I think, health and safety. I mean, coming on from what was just said by Rakesh, when exhibitions open up, we need to make sure that we're following these SOPs. We need to make sure that people are wearing masks, that they're socially distancing, that our industry is not the one that the finger is pointed at and saying, you're the reason why we've had another spike in infection. It's because you weren't doing this properly. So yes, I mean, in terms of training and things, it's health and safety. It's always been health and safety. That is of paramount importance.
I'll take that. And to add up one more point to the second point that you would need to, I was expecting. I recently read a job opening for a virtual event manager. So maybe there are some skills that are required to meet the challenges of the future, and maybe we can make use of our millennials in our industry.
We have to remember, with digital skills, we're competing with everybody else on the planet. So exhibition companies are going to need to find the money to pay for the bright sparks with those digital skills, because guess what? Retail industry wants them, hospitality industry, everybody wants the same people.
Absolutely. Thank you. And my question to Mr. Walter Ye would be two things that he feels will stay ahead of the curve in terms of digital. Two main things we need to do to embrace digital. Two technologies of the future.
Yeah, get the best use of online tool, find right business model, and of course, always stay together to fight the pandemic together, and need more cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. And for Kai, I have a different question. I'll ask him two short questions. One, what can we do to build confidence? Because we like it or not, it all depends on the confidence of our exhibitors and visitors to come back. And second, how can we stay ahead of the curve in terms of competing with Facebook, LinkedIn, or Alibaba?
Well, number one, it is important to build this track record. Every trade show that takes place around the world that does not cause infections helps to build the momentum, helps to rebuild the trust. And we need to work left and right of our industry, with the travel industry, with the hospitality industry, because if you attend an event, you need to travel, you need to stay somewhere, and then you make it to the show floor. And you need to be confident enough of all these three elements. So again, it is about standing united as the business of events, together with the hospitality and the travel colleagues all around the world, and how to stay ahead of the curve of the LinkedIns and of the Alibabas, etc. Don't be scared. Breathe in, breathe out. The world is not going to end. What we do is important. What we bring and what we deliver is an important service, and people value that. Also, it is a very complex business. So it's not easy to disrupt and not easy to jump into. If we continue to do what we do best, to bring people together, the face-to-face in a physical world, we are well placed.
Thank you very much. And I think we have had a real good discussion today. And we could have not asked for much better. With this, I'd like to invite Mr. Ravinder Sethi to give his final concluding remarks. This has been a wonderful session. And what have been your takeaways, Mr. Sethi, from this session?
Wow, 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 wow. It's not my takeaways, but it's the takeaways of these amazingly, distinguished panelists over here. You had asked me to do this little synopsis, and I thought it would be a piece of cake. But there's so much which has come in the last 1 hour, so I'll try my best to pick up. What I picked up really was from the second half of this session. Rakesh ji has very rightfully said that, hey, don't ignore this industry. The multiplier effect is 12 times. We've already, in India alone, $40 billion worth of business has been lost at the macro, 40 total. Of 15 billion has already been lost. You mentioned about venues playing a critical role on a very simple thing as distancing, offering more space. It sounds so simple, but look at the thought. And then, of course, that the hybrid model will be more relevant, and they've also had their own experience. And of course, his leadership in this advocacy for India, commendable. Thank you. Anbu, again, very practical. Hey guys, normalcy is going to come, full normalcy, 2 years. But don't forget there'll be new aspects. Take technology as your friend, digitalization as your friend, virtual as your friend, not your foe. And in the process, the content of your exhibitions will go up. Your value will go up. And of course, everybody is saying it in terms of keeping the right protocol and the health and safety measures. Everybody is in tangent on that. Stuart, of course, you agreed with Anbu. Same phase. Embrace digital. I love it. You're so right. We have actually been giving it lip service. All of us, even from a freight forwarding side, we said, "Oh, we have digitalized." How? I don't know. That was 3 years ago. But we just did an ISO certification on. Online, I said, oh man, this is what it is, and keep the communication flow enhanced, but face-to-face will always be there and will bounce back. Walter's, Afika's role, I sit with you as your vice president and I'm honored. The webinars, the seminars, and the one-to-one discussions which go on, sharing of information, sharing of technologies, sharing of know-how. And the best part is building of trust. And your very relevant point, which you said, was that we have to go just beyond our own associations and all. We have to dig into the other stakeholders. The associations, government bodies, chambers of commerces. We have to bring them in and tell them about our situations also. I come back to your lovely surveys, which are amazing. That 50% of the industry is saying that we're going to go bounce back quickly. 77% of exhibitors are saying virtual, no. 83% of visitors are waiting for face-to-face. Of course, don't ignore it, which is what everyone is saying. Rakesh says, technology is the tool of the future. Anbu is saying that we have to give confidence, not only to the organizers, but to all the stakeholders. Stuart, health and safety, of course, prime, which everybody is in agreement with. Get the best business model. Walter, I know digitalization is, close to your heart, but, do it correctly. Don't do it like anyone else. Stay together. And of course, stay united, Kai. And I love the last one, hey, don't worry about Babas. Stay focused in what we are. I love that last picture of yours. I think you took it when you came back from the Baltic Sea holidays, which we are very envious of. So, Raghav, a synopsis on you. You're doing an amazing job. I've been involved in one or two of your other webinars. Hats off to you. We congratulate you all for your role. And we are proud that you as an Indian, are taking this at a global level.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sethi. And as you said, that we need all of us to be together in this. And thank you so much.